Hello, my name is Dawn, and welcome back for another episode of The Chamber Within. I hope you had a great week. I myself had a long and somewhat challenging time, and this inspired me to talk about days like this where we are having not such a great time in our lives. One of the reasons that I do what I do is because, well, one, I'd like to reach out to those who may be going through the same thing that I'm going through, which is a spiritual awakening. I wanted to share these experiences. And although I love to talk about love and light in our lives, what I want to address is sadness, which is a natural occurrence in our human experience. Many of you, as do I, know sadness well. This is not something that you can avoid, but I want to really kind of take a dive into um, those who may be suffering from either deep sadness or have battled depression in the past, because I myself have. And I'd like to discuss ways to pull ourselves out of this well of sadness, is what I'm going to call it. I know before I talked about having one of the darkest moments of my life and had a guide visit me in the middle of the night. And for those who may not have the opportunity yet to feel spirit on their own or be able to tune themselves to the wavelength of it, I want to share some insights and be a human guide if that's okay with you. I think it's important to fold in to the spiritual journey the ability to recognize and call out times where we aren't feeling our best or lightest. It's absolutely normal, but more important, it's imperative that we don't get stuck there. I wanted to share my tips and tricks on the ways I get out of that darkness. And sometimes it takes longer than others, and that's why I call it the well of sadness. The first step is recognizing these thoughts that we take as truths. I'm not fill in the blank enough, right? Whatever you may be telling yourself at that time, which is I'm not smart enough, educated enough, likable, lovable. I wanted to address these lies that the mind creates, which I find to be a misuse of our wonderful human gift of creativity. I have learned to be aware of my own thoughts from reading the book Ask and It Is Given. I take this very seriously because I know that there are people out there suffering and hurting as they drown in these thoughts of negativity. You know, I want to show you that there is a way out, because even though I have been through it, it really hurts my heart when I see other people, kind of sharing on TikTok how they're feeling, or having, awful thoughts of being unlovable. And it's such a sad thing to watch from the outside looking in. And the best advice you could give someone is a tool on how to pull themselves out of that. So I want to show you that there is a way out. The truth is, focus or our attention to anything gives it power, which means that you and I are the wielders of that power that we don't even realize we have. This is why there's so many ads vying for our attention. Hey, look here, look there, buy this, purchase that. Don't you feel bloated? Don't you feel alone? Don't you wish you could do this or that? They're utilizing our attention for their gain. Now, this is marketing, which is a tried and true strategy. And I'm just using marketing as an example of how valuable our focus and attention is. Okay, so what I do is, if a feeling or thought is becoming overwhelming, and in that moment I am surrounded by its external stimuli to get my attention, I do what the younger generation refer to as disassociation in a healthy way. I unplug and disconnect from these triggers by noticing them, much like a movie happening around me. This buys me time emotionally so that I can gather myself in real time. As I said before, when I started yoga years ago, in the middle of yoga, I felt kind of silly because we would pause and just have attention to breath. So when I used to wait tables, I would close my eyes and just take a few deep breaths to slow down the momentum. And In the middle of a high stress environment, taking deep breaths with yourself is not something highly noticeable if you are uncomfortable with kind of taking a beat for yourself, or you may be kind of in a cubicle situation and other people can see you. But I mention this because attention to breath is the beginning of uh, mindfulness and being in the moment. Early on, um, I would do a trick, right? As in tricking my mind into switching gears. So I used to play Stevie Wonder's song As a lot. I got a lot of joy out of it. It felt and still does feel very spiritual to me. So I use it to recalibrate. And I started to use that song or think of that song to snatch me out of a negative thought, a way to pull me out of a kind of a not so good feeling, right? It's how I would stop the lambs from screaming. By the way, that's a Silence of the Lambs quote, so forgive me if you haven't seen it. It just means a way to quiet the mind. So I'm at work and perhaps many things are piling up on me, but as I disassociate and witness these things happening without letting it consume me, I can begin to recover emotionally. So it's not um, causing shallow breaths, sweating, or um, feelings of being overwhelmed. Because I am recognizing these triggers as a story and not losing myself in this um, environment of stress, I am able to maintain, a certain level of peace. Now, the second piece of advice um, I have is if I am alone and have had a bad day, I witness the things I'm telling myself. This was a bad day. I'm upset because of this bad day. And I'm probably going to have a bad night or continue to be upset because this is how I'm feeling right now. We'll probably continue to feel this for hours. You see how it kind of snowballs? No. I started telling myself no because I'm recognizing these thoughts happening. This is a couple of years back. I would tell myself no and then begin to think, do you know that true love asks for nothing? Her acceptance is the way we pay. Forgive me, but literally, that's the song that would play. I will not be a part of this mudslide of negativity. Learn what can pull you out to best shift your attention. This may sound crazy or silly, but do not believe these thoughts. Do not let them tell you this negative feeling is going to last or you have to have a bad time. You decide what you experience. Change the channel. This show sucks. Whatever you have to tell yourself, but shift gears. Be your own best friend and save yourself. I am the baby in my family and have been known to break the tension when things are uncomfortable. So maybe that's why I've been successful at this trick. I don't know. But I step outside of myself and say, oh no, dear, this will not do. I don't fold. I stand up and I dust myself off. So, actionable steps. Step 1, recognize that your thoughts aren't serving you. Step 2, find a more comfortable thought, a song, a fond memory, something that you know will work on you each and every time. A cheesy joke, it does not matter. Find what works for you and use that to pull your attention away. Step 3, decide to continue to have better thoughts, to get away from that negative space. Use affirmations that you believe in. I am worthy. I am loved. There's a lesson in this. I am blessed. And continue to go up from there. Now, the next thing I have to say, I'll try my best to be as careful as possible with this message. So, I was personally having a bad time during an eviction back in the fall of 2022. I was crying in my apartment alone, and my little cat who taps me on my shoulder, the one that I manifested after watching a cat video on Instagram, if you remember some episodes back, the story I told you about him. He came over to me to console me, and I just didn't know what to do. And then I had a thought. Well, if I am so sad and I don't care, then I am free to live how I want. Hear me out. If you are so down and out and you are either deeply saddened to the point where you are hurting yourself or using something to cope, like a substance, or hopefully not sad enough to want to end it all and say goodbye because the weight of life is just too much, then hear me out. Listen, you are right there at the threshold of change. I've had this thought come to me as well, and I had this thought, if I'm not afraid to throw this all away because I'm so sad, then the other side of that same coin means I'm not afraid to live my life in any way I want to. Maybe my depression and sadness came from trying to stay in this box, trying to be who others wanted me to be, which I did for years. I can admit to that. But there's a freedom in not caring, you know? If you decide to stick around, and hopefully you do, you will find your tribe. Once you shed that layer of pretense and you are your true self, not giving a rip about what other people think, there's sweet freedom there. I promise you there is. Because everyone else is going through the same thing. They truly are. Stick around, lead with intention, and watch how your life unfolds once you shed that layer of fear. Shed how other people think you should express the God in you. So, I sold all of my furniture, had enough money to eat, get a moving truck, put it in storage. I stayed with my sister. I got a job in 2 weeks. I got another apartment in 3 weeks and was able to get another place. So within a month's time, everything had changed for me. You know what I asked for in the middle of my spiritual journey, where I was going through these ups and downs and trying to understand what was happening? I asked for grace. And I asked for the smoothest transition possible in this awful time in my life. And I got it. I'm telling you that even in the midst of sorrow and fear, your thoughts and words are more powerful than you think because they govern the life that you live. Here's the excerpt that I want to read for you today from the book, Ask and It Is Given. This is from chapter 22, The Different Degrees of Your Emotional Guidance Scale. I'm doing my best to make the best of it. Those who are watching you might feel better if they understood that you have no intention of remaining in your state of anger. If they knew that your greater plan is to move through your anger and then through frustration, through overwhelmment, to optimism, to belief, and onward to your knowing that all is well, they might be more patient with where you are right now. There are many people who just naturally move from the powerless feeling of depression or fear into anger as a sort of self-surviving mechanism. But when they are met with so much disapproval from family members, friends, and counselors with respect to the inappropriateness of their anger, they return to the feeling of powerlessness, only to repeat the cycle again and again. From depression to anger, to depression to anger, to depression to anger. The key to regaining your wonderful feeling of personal empowerment and control is to decide right now, no matter how good or how bad you are feeling, that you are going to do your best to make the best of it. Reach for the best feeling thought that you have access to right now. And as you do that again and again, in a short period of time, you will find yourself in a very good feeling place. This is just the way it works. So now this chapter also has a scale of emotions. So I'll start from the bottom and go upward. Fear, insecurity, jealousy, hatred, revenge, anger, discouragement, blame, worry, doubt, disappointment, overwhelmment, frustration, pessimism, boredom, contentment, hopefulness, optimism, positive expectation, enthusiasm, passion, joy. Now, this scale helped me to keep track of my personal scale and how to stay on the upper end if at all possible. Now, one last thing I'd like to say is that I talked about my spiritual library last week, and I was remiss because I didn't mention A Course in Miracles. Now, A Course in Miracles was a great help for me, and of the many quotes that I have from this book has many tabs in it, so I can't find it, so I'll paraphrase. It says that rest comes from waking, not from sleeping. So, waking from the power that you have within. That's how you get your emotional rest. That this life is meant to wear you down so that you can wake up, right? To your spiritual empowerment of who you truly are. Now, I do have an excerpt quickly I'd like to read from this book as well. This is from chapter 25. Everyone here has entered darkness, yet no one has entered it alone, nor need he stay more than an instant, for he has come with heaven's help within him, ready to lead him out of darkness into light at any time. The time he chooses can be any time, for help is there, awaiting but his choice. And when he chooses to avail himself of what is given him, then he will see each situation that he thought before was means to justify his anger, turned to an event which justifies his love. I hope what I have shared today is helpful. It's a helpful tool for you to put in your emotional toolbox whenever you need to guide yourself out of the well of sadness. If you have any questions or comments, you can always contact me via email. thechamberwithin@yahoo.com is my email address. I also have a YouTube channel. The handle is @thechamberwithin. My TikTok shares many quotes and also a few stories I've had about being sensitive to energy. So I wish you well this week. Again, thanks for joining me, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.